Your Bible, so Luke chapter 12. Did I say that already? Luke chapter 12. In your church Bible is page 700 and I think, 723. 723. This is the final Sunday of 2009. So what kind of year was it for you? Don't answer that out loud. What kind of year was it for you? A good year? Bad year? Wasted year? Ho-hum year? What kind of year was it? It's interesting that as we come to the end of the year, how we start, some people reminisce, you hit the milestone, you look about what's going on, what happened, what is going to happen, all those things. And I thought that we would today just kind of, I suppose, look at time, but look at how we deal with it. In Luke chapter 12, Jesus is presented with a problem. Verse 13, Luke chapter 12. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Buddy, who do you think appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." Then he told him a parable. The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop. He thought to himself, "What am I going to do? I have no place to store the crops." And he said, I know what I'm going to do. I will tear down my barns, I will build bigger ones, and then I will store all my grain and all my goods. And then I will say to myself, you have plenty good things laid up for many years. Take life easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be for anyone who stores up things for himself, but is not rich toward God." Apparently, this guy, Luke doesn't even tell us his name, and this is not even recorded in other Gospels. Somebody out of the crowd, for whatever reason, will kind of grab Jesus and say, "Make my brother give me my inheritance, share the inheritance." Now, it's kind of what the credit are you talking about? You get the impression that as Jesus is doing stuff and as he's helping or teaching or doing whatever, this guy kind of butts in and, "Hey, I want to talk to you. I want you to go talk to my brother and I want you to tell him to share the inheritance." And Jesus' response is, "Shut up." This is a great example of the great, what would Jesus do? WWJD. What would Jesus do? Jesus would show compassion. Jesus, of course, would sit down and show them how the love of Jesus and how they can split up everything. And Jesus' response is, "That isn't none of my business. Why are you bothered?" They had specialists back then, just like we do today. People who deal in legal matters. People who deal in medical matters. People who deal in business matters that are specialty items. And Jesus is saying, "You're trying to involve me in stuff that is none of my business, it's not of my affair. Who do you think assigned me to be the judge or the arbitrator between you and your family? What do you think you're doing? That's not my business. That's not what I'm here for." Well, now we can assume we don't know this. We can assume we don't know this. That there's, of course, much more going on with this guy. Because what Jesus does do is he does not get involved with what's going on, but what he does do is take it as an opportunity to teach. He tells the guy, "You know what? That's not my concern. I'm not going to get in the middle of that. But let me tell everybody here a story." You get the impression from the way Jesus responded with his teaching that he knows inside this guy's heart that he's not on the up and up. That if this guy has to come to Jesus to get this guy to get his brother to do whatever, there's probably something else going on that he doesn't want to talk about. Only his side of the story. There's his side, then the other guy's side, and then somewhere in the middle is the right side. And instead of getting involved with the legal matters, Jesus says, you know, folks, let's talk about this. Beware of all different kind of forms of greed. He said, let me tell you a story. And he proceeds to tell a story about a fictional man who is a pretty good businessman. You get the impression he does pretty good with his crops. And this year, it's a banner year. What kind of year did you have? This year, for that guy, it's a banner year. It is incredible. He's got more coming in than he ever thought possible. Every prediction he had, every layout he had of what was going to happen and what the income was going to be, it was off the charts. What am I going to do? This is incredible. How am I going to deal with this? And the solution is this guy comes up with the idea, I know exactly what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my storage areas, I'm going to tear them down, and I'm going to build them twice as big. We're going to build bigger barns, bigger silos, bigger storage areas. We're going to build bigger everything because I got more here than I know what to do with. Now, we don't know the timeline of everything. Jesus is a fictional story, so you can kind of imagine different things. But you can almost imagine him hiring different architects and whatever. In this barn, I want this whatever with the side door that does whatever, and the robot that does this, and the whatever. And on this one, I want it a certain color, I want it a certain way, it's facing a certain direction, so when the sun comes up, it hits the whatever, and it does the thing. And then on this other barn, you can just picture this guy going nuts with this. On and on and on. And getting architects out, laying the foundation just right, doing all this stuff to put all this stuff together. And the idea is this. Once we got it all where we want it to be, once the ducks are in a row, once it's all put where it's supposed to be, then it's time for me to live the good life. I will now be able to relax, sit back, eat, drink, and be Michelle. No, Mary, sorry. Eat, drink, and be merry. That's what we all want. You get the idea, that's what the crowd is. You know, human nature. I just want it to be easier. I want it to be more comfortable. I want it to be simpler. I want it to be where it's easier for me. And this guy had it. And then interestingly enough, in this particular story, it's not an angel, it's God himself. It's God himself who comes to the man and says, you're kind of stupid. Because after doing all this, preparing all that, put it all exactly where you want it to be, tonight you die. Your life, this is a great life. Your life is demanded of you tonight. So just out of curiosity, who do you think is going to get all the stuff you've prepared for? What kind of year do you have? Now, I think over the years, this story in ministers who are knuckleheads this has been used to preach against prosperity, to preach against abundance, to preach against profit, to preach against growth, and that is not what Jesus is doing here at all. That is not what Jesus is doing here at all. That's not what this is about at all. It is about understanding. I think the theme of this whole entire story is in verse 15. And I want to read it again so you understand exactly what Jesus says. Verse 15. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. I think that we all fall into the same trap. I think that we all get involved in busy work because it's stuff that we have to get done every day, especially those of us that are task-oriented and goal-oriented. We set our to-do list, we have our tasks to do, and we get involved with it, and we are so focused on that that we forget to realize the big picture. We get so involved in the business